Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. In today's video there are two stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Throwaways12846. My 21 female boyfriend, 24 male, wants to leave everything behind when he graduates, including me. Hi everyone, I'll try to make this short. We have been together for a little over 8 months. We live close to each other and are both students. We will graduate in 2.5 to 3 years. Everything has been great except for this problem. My boyfriend is not a talker. He does not talk about his feelings or his upbringing much, but sometimes things will come up. Stuff like he doesn't think he is good enough and that no one expects him to succeed in anything. When I found this out, I already suggested it might be a good idea to see a psychologist. Anyway, when he said he had something to tell me, I knew it was bad news. This was about 2 months ago. He told me that when he graduated, he would be gone. He said that there were exactly 2 components to his plan, leaving and leaving alone. He said he was tired of the expectations everyone had, tired of proving he could do anything, hence the reason why he would be graduating first, and just wanted to go away. He would cut contact with his family, friends, and obviously me. If this plan would end up with him falling off the edge of the world or in a ditch somewhere, this would be fine. He just wants to go. Well, I was crushed. This basically means that we have no future together. I asked him if he wanted to break up with me. He told me that he didn't want that, as he loves me and I make his life so much better, that I'm the best thing that's ever happened to him, and yet he would still leave me. That hurts so much. Apart from that, I am also super worried because what the F? Who is okay with ending up in a ditch in the middle of nowhere? I think these issues he has that I mentioned above go way deeper than I realized, and he is dealing with depression. Leaving would perhaps make it better for a while, but you can't outrun yourself. I have said this to him, but he still maintained that he wants to leave when he can. I have urged him again to see a psychologist, and he would see one if I want him to, but he doesn't really want to himself. And that brings us to today. I am dealing with this knowledge by not thinking about it too much. Sometimes it does come up and that's very hard. If I can't handle it anymore, I will leave, trust me. But since it's still so far away, I keep hoping he will change his mind once he sees someone. But I also don't want to keep nagging him to see someone. I think most of you will say to cut your losses, but I really love this guy and I have this hope that once he sees someone, his plans will alter. I want to go travel as well and would be happy to join him. I graduate with my bachelor's next year and will spend a year, maybe 2, to do my master's, so the timing is perfect. I'm not really sure what I'm asking here, just advice I guess? I have talked to my friends about this, but I'd like some unprejudiced advice. Thanks in advance. Well, OP, my unprejudiced advice would be that you're putting yourself through a lot of pain without maybe knowing it. I think you're right. I think your boyfriend is definitely going through something and he might benefit from help, but he clearly doesn't want any help, and you can't help somebody who doesn't want it. If you try to force them, it'll just put strain on both of you. And now you've put yourself in a situation where there's a clock ticking for something that you want that will most likely not happen, because like you said, your boyfriend is not a talker, so he's not asking you what you would do. He's telling you what he is going to do. Now, in your last paragraph, you tell yourself that you think people will tell you to cut your losses. For you, I don't exactly see it that way, although it is a very valid angle. For you, I would say it's more about taking care of your mental health. I mean, like I said, you're putting yourself in a situation where there's a ticking clock over your head. That cannot be healthy. And it's not a clock for a doctor's appointment or anything like that. It's a clock for when your relationship ends. So in summary, OP, if I was in your shoes, I'd nip this in the bud because it would just be too much stress to put myself through it knowing it's gonna end. And what do you guys think about this situation, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Wenhaver says, so once, long ago, I was head over heels for this guy I'd been with for about a year. I put a lot of effort, time, and money into that relationship. He was graduating and I had a year left to go. He found a job about 45 minutes away from school, and I drove him around and helped him find an apartment as he didn't have a car. I'd talk about plans and events coming up in a month or two, and he'd get really quiet, which I realized in hindsight. 2 days after I helped him move into his apartment, I called him to see if he wanted me to pick anything up on my way to his place for the weekend, and he told me not to bother coming. He said that he was leaving college things behind with college. I was a college thing. I was crushed, easily my worst breakup, and I've been divorced. I'm still a little salty about how he handled that, to be honest, and that was like 20 years ago. Now imagine putting 3 more years of time, energy, money, and emotion into a relationship to have essentially that same thing happen. He certainly sounds like he needs some counseling, but you're not going to be able to make him do it. Don't torture yourself by staying when he's made it clear you're just a college thing that will be thrown out with the rest of his college things after graduation. Drunk on Martinis says, "Girl, have some self-respect. He essentially told you he's using you as a girlfriend placeholder until he graduates and moves on to his real life. Stop blaming it on depression and blah 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 and realize he's just an a-hole. Staying in a relationship of 8 months when he's already told you he's going to bail is dumb and a total waste of time. You're so young. Go have some fun with someone who sees you as an addition to his life, not someone that's holding him back." Tarkanus says, "You definitely should be cutting your losses until he gets help, but he doesn't want it right now. You were right when you were talking about how healthy people don't talk the way he does, especially the line about him being fine if he ends up in a ditch. Emotionally healthy people aren't okay with dropping all of their loved ones and maybe ending up in a ditch just because he wants to leave. If he actually felt real love or attachment to you or his family, he wouldn't have the plan to cut off everyone and just leave. This dude is mentally sick in some way. Personally, I wouldn't put myself through 3 years of this kind of anxiety. You need to have a heart-to-heart and point out how mentally sick he sounds and lay down an ultimatum that you need him to get help or you can't put yourself through 3 years of dread ending in heartbreak." A Gender Agenda says, "Leave him. I've done this before. Dated someone who explicitly told me we had no future, but wanted me to stick around anyways because I made his life better. It sucked. You don't owe it to him to make his life better. You owe it to yourself to find a relationship that you can fully invest yourself in without the fear that it'll all be for nothing. He may well have some issues that are causing this decision, but it's not your responsibility to fix them. Even if he does fix them, it still doesn't necessarily mean he'll stay with you." And Baby Got Backbone says, "Your boyfriend is a pretentious a-hole who thinks that the romantic idea of traveling the country with no ties to nothing is a good idea. Spoiler alert, it isn't. There's so much I doubt he's planned for or considered. People can't just up and disappear anymore. You should duck out before the guy does any more damage. You shouldn't be aiming to be his temporary girlfriend. You deserve someone who is willing to invest in you. And if you are worried about his mental state, contact his family and tell them about this plan of his. I'm sure they'll be better suited with dealing with this." OP's edit. "It's unclear if he would ever come back, and the consensus seems to be that I should dump him. The sentence, 'using you as a filler until he can live the life he wants,' really struck a chord with me. As I read the first responses while sitting next to him, I couldn't help bring up the subject. I have not worded it as a deal breaker if he doesn't go to therapy, but it kinda is, and he understood that. As I brought up that his insurance probably covers it for the most part if he gets diagnosed, he was immediately far more responsive. He will call his insurance coming Monday to be sure, and will then make an appointment with his doctor for a referral. If I see him truly make an effort, I will stick around longer. If not, I will have to respect myself and dump him. Thank you again." Alright, well, the community agrees that OP needs to get out of this relationship. It is not healthy for her to stay in this relationship, considering it's only 8 months old and apparently it's for 2.5 to 3 more years of this crap. And from that edit, it sounds like OP kind of heard the community, but she still wants to stick around with this guy. I don't know why, but well, it's her life. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. But of course, before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after the video. Now, let's move on with that update. So, he broke up with me, sort of. A couple of days after me talking to him and him promising to call his doctor for a referral, he said he wanted to talk, and that he didn't want to lie to me. He told me that he does not want to see a psychologist and that it's selfish of him to want me to stick by him, but more importantly, that he wants to use the summer to get his act together. He's not had a good year at school, and in order to graduate, in order to be able to leave, he needs to make some changes, and he can't do that with me around. To note, these changes include getting up early in the morning, stopping smoking tobacco, stopping smoking weed, working out every day, and reading a study book a week. And I kind of freaked out. I'm in the middle of exams, finals, right now. Arguably one of the most difficult periods of my life, and he breaks up with me. I gave him hell for breaking up with me during the most stressful time of my life. I'm in law school and have 7 exams. He broke up with me when I had 4 to go. Excuse me if I feel that's not cool. Anyway, he backtracked and said if it would help me, he'd still be with me, but that once my exams are done, he would be done as well. And in order to delay my mental breakdown, which was going to follow if we were to break up right now, I accepted this. So we are in a sort of limbo where we still act lovey-dovey while also discussing the reasons for the breakup. He offered, I accepted. I also know that he'd be out if he couldn't handle it. He doesn't mind because he does love me or something. I agree it's weird, but I'm not taking the risk of breaking down right now. Not passing my exams will add another 6 months to my bachelor's. So, to be very clear, this is not for my sake. I know that for my mental health, it would be better to have no contact. However, my exams are far more important than my mental health right now. And if we were to break up permanently, I wouldn't be able to focus. Stupid? Of course. If it works, I won't regret it. There have been good days and bad days, and on the good days, I can focus. When school is over, I can break down. 2 weeks to go. But to come back to the matter at hand, it sucks balls. I'm glad he recognizes that he needs to make some changes and would never blame anyone for choosing himself. But how he's done it is just crappy. If he could stick it out 2 more weeks, I'd be so much better. Another thing that's crappy is that he was apparently contemplating this for weeks and did not include me in the discussion. He only told me his decision. There's no way I'll be able to change his mind, and thinking it all over, I'm not sure whether I'd really want him to stay now. He needs to change a lot, and personally, I think he'd need a therapist for that. He is adamantly against it though. We have been able to talk a lot. I've not yet found peace, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to unite the 2 sides he is showing me. What he says, I still love you, etc., and what he does, leaving. I hate that I'm getting so worked up about a short relationship, but the feeling that he just doesn't care enough about me is killing me. I'll get through it though. I have a great support system here, and I will find someone again that will care. If that person is him, great, but I have made it clear for us to ever work that he needs to change. And I don't think that will happen too soon, so I'm trying to stop imagining reconciliation. I genuinely do hope that he can change, not for me, but for himself. He can be so much more if he wasn't so troubled all the time. Not my problem anymore, however. Anyways, thought you might be interested. I'm focusing on my exams right now, as far as I'm able to, and focusing on the future. I don't need him, and perhaps he was right that I do deserve better. Okay, I'm gonna call this a strange update because apparently you're happy, but you're not truly happy, and you're in some sort of a limbo relationship that also has another time on it, and it's gonna only be 2 weeks. It's a mess. But hey, OP, if it works for you and it gives you what you want and it doesn't cause you any kind of harm, then go for it. Here's wishing you and your strange reasoning all the very best in the future. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from their subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Scooting Dog. Am I the A-hole for not giving my boss my first class seat? Yesterday, my boss and I were flying home from a conference. We were on the same flight, but our original seats were not next to each other. I'm a frequent traveler on this airline and use their credit card, so I often get free upgrades to first class. I got upgraded on this flight and my boss did not. After the flight, when we were collecting our bags, she said she wanted to talk to me about my lack of respect for protocol. She thinks that because the company paid for my original ticket and she is more senior than me, I should have given her the first class seat. I think this is absolutely insane. While the company paid for my seat, it was my own personal credit card spending and frequent travel that earned me the upgraded seat. Is this some sort of corporate standard I'm not aware of? I might be the a-hole because I didn't give someone more senior than me my first class upgrade. Her response indicated that this is expected behavior, but I don't think so. Am I the a-hole? OP, I don't know what company you work for, but if this is truly their policy, you would still not be the a-hole because this situation is ridiculous. It has nothing to do with the company. You said it yourself, this is what you accrued by using your own personal credit card that is a frequent flyer card of this airline. So the fact that the company paid for your ticket has nothing to do with the upgrade. Sure, there wouldn't be anything to upgrade if your company didn't send you somewhere and pay for your ticket, but still, your boss is being ridiculous. She can't just expect you to give her your upgrade just because she's a senior. Honestly, OP, if I was in your shoes, I'd send her an email along the lines of, "I'm sorry about my misunderstanding on our last trip, so just for future reference and that I don't forget, when we travel together and I get an upgrade, the company protocol would be to give you my seat, right?" Just in case she's entitled enough that she'd actually give you the proof. But either way, you need to go talk to HR, OP. Worst case is that you start a paper trail. Anyways, in summary, not the a-hole, OP. And what do you guys think about this whole thing? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Gilded Lady says, not the a-hole. If you want to see it going forward, you can always email HR and ask, X happened while on this trip and manager Y advised that I should have done Z. Can you point me to where I can review the protocol so I know going forward? It documents the incident without being accusatory and lets you be able to cite chapter and verse if there's a next time. And OP responds, this is a really helpful suggestion, thank you. She has retaliated against other employees who have raised concerns about her attitude with HR before, so this tactic feels a little more comfortable to me than an outright complaint. Not creative at all, 16 says, not the a-hole. The entitlement of your boss is astounding. As long as the company allows you to use your card for miles, not all do, you've done nothing wrong. You could have used those miles on whatever. She could have paid extra for the upgrade as well, but she chose not to. And OP responds, thank you. Yes, our company lets us use our miles, our personal money, to upgrade the economy tickets they purchase. So yes, in theory, she could have paid with her own money to upgrade. I just happened to get an upgrade because of my status with the airline and their credit card. Harley Mama 45325 says, not the a-hole, and I am an HR manager. No employee is entitled to another employee's personal rewards. I had a general manager who traveled a lot of his job. He used his personal credit card to pay for rooms. He always used the same hotel and amassed huge awards. Those are his to keep and use. He was reimbursed for the rooms by our company, but he booked and paid for them originally. The company paid for the original ticket, but the upgrade was a personal reward, not a company reward. I would definitely email HR and ask what the proper protocol is. If she comes to you later, make sure you tell HR she is creating a hostile work environment. You need to get ahead of this as soon as possible. And OP responds, thank you. This is my first corporate gig, so I have no idea what is valid to talk to HR about, if it's not over sexual harassment or something like that. Additional information from OP's comments. She knows I'm a frequent user of this airline, both personally and for work. Our work policy is that even though the company pays for the flights, all miles go to the employee. I have a good status because I've combined work miles, and personal spending on my airline loyalty credit card. I didn't pay for this upgrade. It's auto-requested and granted through the app because of loyalty status. Like literally, I get a notification on my phone saying, "You've been upgraded," and my ticket changes seats. But my company has no say over who does or doesn't get upgrades. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that he should go to HR to ask what's going on here. And apparently OP might do just that. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thanks to the many of you kind Redditors who made me realize that 1. I was not the a-hole in this situation, and 2. I was in a very toxic work situation. I took the advice many of you gave me and clarified the policy with HR. The company, of course, did not have this policy. This situation was just the straw that broke the camel's back. My boss had been unreasonable before, and this just helped me realize it. So I took your advice to get out of that job quickly, and I'm happy to say I'm starting a new job in 3 weeks. I know the person who will be my supervisor in my new job, and she is a very kind and normal person. I'm pretty nervous to give my notice to the toxic boss on Monday, but oh well, if she's nasty, then my 2 weeks notice will just become an immediate resignation. We live in a one-party consent for recording state, and I plan to record the phone conversation to protect myself. And I know I should have waited to say anything until the deed is done, but honestly, I'm so excited about the new job that I needed to shout it from the anonymous rooftops. My boss is on vacation right now, so I'm attempting to do the classy thing and wait until she's back to resign. Thanks to all of you for giving me the push to move on. Well, OP, this is most definitely a happy update. You are moving on to better and greener pastures. So here's wishing you all the best in your new job, OP, and good for you for making the right choice. Take care and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.